This is the Shrine of St. Joseph. This is located at 1220 North 11th Street, St. Louis, Missouri. Done in the classic Romanesque style, this church features two towers, a roundel in the center here, balustrade right there with balusters, of course. There's also the windows on the building itself right here are round, indicative of the Romanesque style. This is before the Gothic when they turned pointed. We also have post and lintel construction with engaged columns over the doorway. The windows here are also known as lancet, and the towers themselves there are octagonal. This is the west works of the building. This is an interior shot facing towards the entrance of the church, towards the west works. As we can see here, down there behind those that set of doors there is the narthex. Above we have transverse arches along and then we also have a clerestory with clerestory windows. The windows are also round. There is no gallery. This goes straight up to the ceiling, giving you a great sense of verticality. The arches themselves are stilted, meaning that they sit upon columns which happen to be Corinthian, if I believe. This right here is the nave of the church. And though you cannot see on the edges here, there is evidence of aisles. This is a composite shot of many photos featuring going all the way to the apse of the building, apse of the church, which is right here. It features lit under a dome with an oculus. I cannot tell for sure if that oculus is actually open to the sky, as this was a wedding and I couldn't get close enough. Also, we see again the stilted arches with the transverse arches in the vault here, or transverse vaults. Here we have a half dome there with a small absidial chapel. This is the aisle here. The columns themselves sit upon very large bases. Also, we see again the clerestory here, along with the transverse arches, which also lend heavily to the height of the building, which gives it almost a little bit of a French flair. The altar here, also mentioned before in the history, if you haven't heard it yet, is the altar of answered prayers, built in honor of Saint Joseph when the church parishioners prayed to him to avoid the current cholera epidemic of the time before it was built. Here we also have a pulpit where the archbishop would stand and give addresses to. I believe that's what it's for. It's a church piece. Again, we have the rounded windows on the edges here, which are accentuated and very tall, again lending to the sense of the verticality of the space. Here we have an exterior shot of the Church of St. Foy in Conches, which was built in, I believe, 1050 AD. We see again the rounded windows, a small arch here with the two-tower motif on the west works, as is common with the Romanesque feature, them being both equal in height. We also get small lancet windows up here with a small column in between. We have a small roundel in the front, and then we also have a squala, or I think that's what it was called. Let me check real quick. I apologize. Which is indicative of a pendentive above a rounded arch. We also see that same motif, but in reverse here with the arch and then the pendentive. Here we have an interior shot, and again we get this great sense of the verticality as we have the columns that go all the way up and form these transverse arches. We also have pendentive arches here connecting the square base type to this round dome up ahead, and then we also have a half dome over the apse where you can see a row of columns with stilted arches. Also we get, that's the apse, of course. The altar is right here, and the building itself is made of stone, and again we get the sense of the verticality of the space. These are pilasters and engaged columns where they sink in halfway into the thing, not really lending support, more of a decorative element. Here again we get the nave, and behind this row of columns here we also see a aisle. Here we have an interior shot in the courtyard where we see a row of stilted arches along within another set of arches. We get proof of a true arch with voussoirs and keystone included. These columns seem to be non-fluted, but Corinthian, I believe, with leaf-type floral patterning there. Here we have an example of an engaged column where it's half sticking out, but not really a structural element, more decorative. There's windows here, more modern in the glass. However, we get a nice stone sill and a top, heavy sill top there. As we can see, the similarities between these two buildings are there are many similarities between the buildings. We get again these rounded entranceways with the rounded windows in the center. We get two towers of equal height. However, back in the day, this building actually had more closer to the Saint Foy design with the very pointed tops. However, due to some reason, these ones have been capped off in an octagonal plane. We also have this repeating long lancet window with the rounded top. This one built in brick, this one built in a more stone. Obviously, these more indicative of the technology at the time.